So we're gonna have a fun topic today.
Okay.
So what we were smoking, man, we're gonna have private label episodes coming out of the ass the next 6 months. We have so much. I'm so exhausted. I just want to go home. But this was a fun little project we worked on with Rainier Lorenzo over at HVC. So this year, only to like a few retailers. He didn't kind of like announce it to a lot of people. He released a short filler bundle that he called the Pan Caliente, bundle version. It was in Connecticut. And we're talking with him like, hey, we would love to do this as a private label. Can you do this in like a Habano? And he said, absolutely. So we got it. So it just came in. Should be on the website shortly, if not by the time this comes out, but within the next week or so. So, first we're going to explain, because I feel people hear like short filler or Cuban sandwich, and they immediately go to negative. It's not super high-end, whatever. So we're going to explain what it is, and then we're going to explain why it's good. And as you're smoking it, you'll see why it's good. So a Cuban sandwich is basically a cigar where there's a mixture of short filler, but it has long fill, binder, and wrapper. But then the filler is not long fill tobacco, or sometimes there is some, but there's short filler. And what short filler basically is when you do long filler, you have the whole leaves of tobacco. Maybe you break them in half to make it fit, whatever you do. Short filler is just kind of the chopped remnants a lot of times of kind of what's left over. And when talking with, I'm going to call him Lorenzo because he prefers to be called Lorenzo. Lorenzo is a small factory. They're doing a lot of good work. HVC is probably like my new company of the year for us. Newly taken on, really working with them. A lot of great stuff. And a Cuban sandwich is dates back to literally to Cuba. It was something that people who were rollers would do either in the factories.
That's the common term
for
it. Okay.
And so essentially, when you have a small factory and you're buying X amount of tobacco to meet your production, there is going to be tobacco wasted all the time. That's what happens. As you're cutting through to make things, there's pieces that you're cutting out, and they usually, and usually that's what goes into mixed filler cigars or short filler cigars, depending on which one it is. And obviously, they're not going to burn exactly like long filler, but they are certainly, I would not call them bad cigars at all. They're more inexpensive because you're paying your high premium for the long filler, and then these are just the remnants left over, so they can afford to sell them to you at a cheaper rate. People think of
why would you say that people would
people
view that as a bad?
They think of short filler as an inexpensive gas station cigar, because a lot of times that's what it is when you see something like Dutch Master, these are mixed fill.
So they don't want to spend any money on
they have
because of the reputation.
Yeah, it has a bad reputation, yeah. But when you're coming from a boutique factory like HVC, and he's not ordering in shitty short filler loose tobacco to make these bundles. He's using the excess of what he uses in his premium $10 or $15 cigars. So you're going to have a different experience. Mm-hmm. But it's not going to be this drastically bad thing. It's the same tobacco, so it's going to be a lot of the same flavors. It's going to be a little change because how the cigar smokes is going to be a little different. Might have to have a few more touch-ups. The burn might not be, what you see on a premium. But overall, it's going to give you a very good experience. Now, these Caliente Habano, I've been smoking through these since I got a bundle sent out last week, and sorry. And I've just been smoking through them because at whatever this is, it's $55, I think, $56 for a bundle of 25.
Oh man, that's a steal.
So yeah, and it's an HVC. It is 80% of the way there.
Yeah.
To maybe 70% of the way there to their kind of more premium lines. Which when you look at the price difference, getting 70% of the goodness of an HVC for this kind of cost is big. And the thing about them is they can be whatever you want them to be. They can be a durable every day. At Havana, I was kind of handing them out. I'd smoke one. If it went out, I'd kind of just toss it, smoke another.
Yeah.
They're great for that. And they're a really good cigar. Everyone I gave this to, including guys from other manufacturers who were hanging out, they were like, hey, how much is this? And I told them, well, it'd be like, whatever, $3 or something.
Yeah.
They're like, this is excellent. Like, this is excellent for that price. So I know you probably haven't tried a lot of short or mixed fill cigars, so I kind of wanted to get your opinion and see what you think.
Yeah,
Like, if I didn't tell you this was different, what would your thoughts be?
Right off the bat, I'm enjoying it very much so. This is the Habano wrapper, correct? I always equate Habano with spicy, like really spicy. This isn't right now. This is not coming off that way. This is my first cigar of the day. It's a little bit earlier on the earlier side. So if it was any other, maybe Habano, I would probably sweat a little bit more. But I do have a newfound appreciation for HVC. I remember smoking the Pan Caliente a few years ago. That was one of Greg's favorites, one of your favorites at the time too. Yeah, no, I'm excited to try it because even when I had this in my hand and someone downstairs was like, "Oh, have you tried this yet?" And I said no, and they're like, for mixed filler, it's not bad. So it's just funny that there is that reputation of if it's mixed filler, then it could be a little hit or miss, right? Mm-hmm. If this was any more expensive, do you think people would even really not would shy away from it even more?
At like $6 or $7, people would say it's fine.
Gotcha.
Like it's good. Yeah. That's what people say at $6, $7. But that's where you see that's where that's where you see the transition from short filler to like long filler premium is once you kind of pass into the 5, 6. Because like listen, I know 5 and 6 is still like cheap these days, but you have things like our alternatives. I'm pretty sure are all long filler, and those are $5, $6. So that's considered like the premium market once you hit there. Obviously, that number is going to go up as inflation and time goes up. But for under $3, or maybe even under $3 because it was $25 to 25 cigars to a bundle. I mean, and you have to rate listen. There's no way that I thought this was going to be as good as like his $12 cigar. Like if it was, something's amiss.
Yeah.
So you do have to look at it in the context of what it is. But I think in the context of what it is, especially in this market where like everyone's kind of going the opposite direction. Everyone's going like ultra premium, and people that are normally $10 are trying out $15 things and all this stuff. I think this is a much welcome addition to the market. I mean, Drew Estate did something similar a couple of years ago with the factory smokes.
Yes, yeah.
But when you're a company, but they're like a large company, you expect a large company with the biggest factory in Nicaragua to have some kind of bundle program. Yeah. Everyone does a Seconds or a Fumas. Yeah. AJ's got them out there. AUSA's got them out there. Aganorsa even has a variety. But what's coming from a factory like this, because when the short filler Cuban sandwich is only as good as the tobacco you're putting into it. So when you have these big companies, they're like, if Altadis is making a second or a Fuma or a short fill bundle, they're not using the scraps from like the 1935. They're using it from like the Romeo like 1875.
Yeah, or they're blends
they're using a scrap from like a $6, $7 cigar in their short filler bundle. They're not going to use the high end one. But when you have a company this small where he's like, hey, I usually only make $10, $11, $12, $13 stuff. So like this is the only scraps I have.
Yeah.
You're going to get kind of an elevated version of that.
And I do like also, I guess, the concept of using, scraps or secondary tobacco that wasn't used in the main production lines. How many times, especially the past year where, I remember you asking talking to Sock about the Connecticut broadleaf shortage, what's your plan, and there's shortages of tobacco. So I feel like you're not really wasting, you're not throwing things away. You're trying to utilize, all right, how can I benefit from the scraps, quote unquote, and make something? And this is extreme, like a bundle of 55 for basically $3 a cigar. That's a steal. That is a steal. And I don't know if this is something common with mixed filler, in a cigar. I'm not there's times where I don't know if you still feel this way or taste it. When I do light a cigar and I'm smoking, I do feel like an overabundance sometimes on my palate. Now I don't know if it's depending on the time of day I smoked or if I've had coffee or anything yet to really kind of coat the palate. but this is like an extremely smooth right
Well,
now,
don't
like
forget,
throughout.
that's Lorenzo's whole thing with his cigars, his clean finish.
Yeah,
That's what he wants. He does not want a lingering thing to ruin the next cigar or whatever.
Yeah.
So being that, again, it's only under $3, but it's coming from the mind of Lorenzo. This is the style that he likes. So you're going to get a lot of those same characteristics that you see in his more expensive stuff.
Yeah, yeah. But is that common with like mixed fillers or short fillers? Or not really. It
Again,
doesn't
they're
matter.
they're based upon whatever the origins are.
Yeah.
Again, you're going to have a different experience, even if it's with the same tobacco. But you're not going to have a vastly different experience if someone's using, the scraps left over from an Umbagog, let's say, or from like a Mi Querida Tricky Traca. And then let's say Steve took the scraps from that and made a short filler version of that. It ain't going to be a light, smooth cigar. It's going to be in the ballpark of what you were. I mean, again, depending on the filler and depending on the wrapper, of what you were smoking. It's not going to be completely different. It's the same tobacco. It's going to burn differently, and the difference in burn and construction can alter the experience. But it's not going to be all. It's not going to change it to a whole other realm of all of a sudden it's, this one is more rough and way more spicy and way more. It's like, no, it's going to be overall the same. You might prefer the long filler version because it's going to have, some of those rough spots kind of etched out. The construction's going to be a lot easier. The draw might be a little easier. But again, you have a factory that knows what they're doing. I mean, this is probably a lot of like the vendors in Cuba, like the guys who just kind of roll in their house, and get tobacco. They're probably making a lot of these. They're probably big sellers over there because they're cheap, inexpensive, and they know what they're getting. Like they don't need the $80 Cohiba. They're getting basically the same tobacco, and they're getting something for $1.50, $2.
I'm not too familiar with bundles, like the bundle game. I don't know how many come in a bundle. I always assumed it was like the same count as a.
It's 20 or
25
25
bucks,
usually.
yeah.
20, 25.
So a 55 count could be.
No, so it's not 55. It's $55. It's 25 count.
Oh, my fault. Okay,
right.
$55. So 25 count. All right. I was gonna say if 25 count. I think bundles. I think it's for certain people. The look of it anyway could possibly be a turnoff. Because the box, the packaging, we talk about all the time. The band. It's always it's the look too that adds to, I guess, buying experience.
Again, if I gave you a Costco burger or whatever, a Wegmans burger, and I cooked it for you and made it for you, are you gonna know the difference?
No.
Yeah, and guess what? One came in a big sleeve of 50, and one came in a nice little box with a big picture on it and a thing with 8 of them, and they were like the same price.
Yeah.
So, obviously, like this is not something I would buy as a gift for someone. This is something I'm going to be buying bundles of this myself, 100%. And this is also a great one. Could be a great wedding one.
Yes.
Like I said, there's also the Connecticut is not our private label, but I think only a few other retailers have it. Like again, it's not something he was actively promoting. Like this is gonna be my next big thing, but I think it was a smart move. I think it was very smart, especially in this market. And it's something I will definitely buy. You have a barbecue, you have people over, you don't care what somebody does with this, but it's also something enjoyable.
Yeah.
And it's got a brand name behind it that is quality. So, but the bundle industry is obviously, it's still considered premium. There's some differences. The higher end ones are basically what you would call seconds, which are still long filler. They were rolled with the intention of being whatever this brand is, but either they were too short or there was too many blemishes or maybe they overproduced, what their numbers were. So they get put into like these second bundles like without the right bands. So for example, a big brand that we have, Consuegra, one of our biggest selling bundles. Those are all general seconds. So Punch, Hoyo de Monterey, El Rey del Mundo. So the same cigars, just, again, they're off a little bit. Higher end seconds, you look at Umbagog. Umbagog is a higher end second, technically, because it's the. I don't know what his full process is. I definitely know it involves the wrapper. I don't know if the cigars are fully rolled, ready to be a Mi Querida, and then he'll take another look at it, or if the wrapper is off, and then how different the blend is.
Under the
but
Umbagog.
in a manner of speaking, the Umbagogs are like a second of Mi Querida. It's ones that didn't make the cut. You know, so you have that, which is a lot of your better selling bundles, or sometimes they're just called fumas, which just means smokes, but are seconds, and a lot of big factories do it. Like I said, AJ does it, Oliva does it, Rocky does it, where it's a very similar experience. It's minus the pageantry and the uniformity you see. You know, like when you see a box and like they're all the exact same size and the exact same shade, and the bands are all lined up perfectly. Like sometimes your money is going into that, which is okay. You know, your money is on the presentation is important, especially when you're if you're a newer brand or you're big in brick and mortar stores. You need to have presentation, uniformity. It can't just be a good cigar. I've seen a ton of amazing cigars fall to the wayside because branding was off. Like it happens all the time. So It's got to be branded well. It's got to look good and be uniform. But for people who don't care about that, which honestly are few and far between, you know, we talk about band bias all the time.
Yeah.
People who do not give a shit at all about that, they could care what the brand is. They just want to smoke something good. Seconds and fumas and things like this are a great choice because you're getting very close to that experience for such a fraction of the money. So it's definitely something I would, you know, as times get tougher, you know, the stock market took a dump this week.
Yeah.
Not that I'm invested in anything, thank God.
No.
But not a bad choice to look towards something like this. And I'm not someone who likes to buy cheap in bulk all the time. You know, I think of cigar smoking as an experience, and I want to optimize it every time. But this is a way you can optimize it, you know, in differing circumstances.
And like you mentioned like a few moments ago, where if, you know, we're always looking to see what would be good cigars or bundles for events, for, you know, weddings, golfing, party, barbecue. If this could add to the collection, I think with a brand that has a like a really up and coming like reputation as to like these are new brands or companies to look out for. I think that's perfect. Now, this might be a very novice question of me. Do you think like is the mixed filler with this, is it a popular trend? Is it something you see maybe others going towards, or is it obviously like a case by case or company by company basis?
I mean, like I said, a lot of companies have been doing it for like it's a regular thing. But in terms of boutique companies, well, you know who did it? It was the yellow cake and the confetti or whatever it was. Was Caldwell like 10 years ago. He was doing stuff like, and they came in like a 5-pack, like a craft paper 5-pack. They were like unbanded. I'm pretty sure they had a sticker on the front. It was just like a, you know, his whole thing was like these kind of lost and found like hidden goodies, and so he would kind of use any resource and then he would brand it to make it exciting. But the cigars were always good. Yeah, you know, it's not, you're not just putting a sticker on a dump and then calling it whatever. He wouldn't put them in a super fancy box and then say this is some great thing. He knew what he had, but he marketed it well to get it to get it out and get some excitement. And they were popular. People liked them. And then you even look at something like and I'm guessing they got to be some form of short filler because they're like cigarillos. But the surrogates, the Cracker Crumb from Pete Johnson, those, you know, they're you know, tiny little, maybe slightly bigger than a cigarillo, but they're small little, come in a little 5-pack, paper 5-pack. We used to sell those. I used to put them on Reddit, like, hey, we got 2 sleeves of these. They'd be sold out by lunch. Like they would just move. So even in the boutique area, there is a want for these kind of things. You know, not, you know, obviously manufacturers, they want to push you towards their higher end stuff, but you know, it's nice to have an option. Is it want for the pricing, for the taste of it, or just the whole experience? This isn't the first. Like, if I wanted to introduce somebody to HVC, I would not give them this first. Yeah. I would give them probably a straight up original Pan Caliente with the brown band, and then maybe like a Selección #1 to kind of show a little bit of their variety, and then maybe like the hot cakes, like the broadleaf. But then if I find someone who is like, oh yeah, I like HVC, they're the ones I would turn on to this, because they're gonna appreciate it, because they're gonna know where it's coming from. Like, oh, dude, this is so close to like the ones that I know, and you can tell all of his blending characteristics in it. You know, honestly, I think it was a smart move. He has the availability to do this, unlike a lot of boutique guys, because unlike a lot of boutique guys, he has his own factory. Yeah. You know, so if someone's making something with AJ, to go to him and be like, give me your scraps. Like AJ's probably already doing that. So
or doing it for someone else,
or doing it for somebody else. Yeah. So when you have your own factory, and all the money just goes to him. So smart business, smart for the industry. I do think that cigars like this have become kind of a lost art form. People have just been kind of throwing stickers on it. But this is, when he brought us that bundle of the Connecticut ones, and you know me, I'm not the biggest Connecticut fan. I smoked through like 5 of those in a week. They were just great, nice little smokes, smooth. Like I said, had his signature clean finish on it. And then I just got these in last week, and this is like my 6th one in under a week. And I handed that bunch out. Everyone I gave one to, like a Havana Night, said they thought it was awesome. They thought it was great. It was only like I didn't hand it out to just like customers. I handed it to like our team and some guys from the call center and some reps who I knew, just to give them something to try. And they were all very much on board for it. They all thought it was great. So
I'd be interested to try the Connecticut one.
I
have one at my desk.
Smoke it today. Let me know what you think.
But because this is pretty smooth, I can't imagine. That's probably would be a perfect cigar for post lunch or anything like that. But
yeah, it was a great morning smoke.
Yeah.
Also the Connecticut one doesn't leave a lot of like stink on your clothes. So if you want something quick and nice, before you. That's why I think they're a great wedding option.
Yes.
Honestly. Like, unless you're looking for pure presentation, if you I just need like decent cigars, these are great. Because people who don't really smoke aren't going to know the difference. People who do smoke are going to be like, oh, for like that amount of money, that's really good. And then the big time cigar nerds are going to recognize that it's HVC, so they're going to come out of the gate. Like,
this is a 5x50 Robusto, correct?
Yeah, there's 3 sizes. I think there's a Robusto, a Churchill. I can't remember the other one. Maybe a Toro or a Toro. I can't remember what.
I'd be interested to try the Churchill.
Mm.
See if the flavor's different there, which I'm sure it will be.
That one's gonna probably. You'll probably see the biggest difference between long filler and short filler and mixed filler in the Churchill because it's so long. This one it's like if you're plugging up a hole like in your wall. If it's a small little hole, you don't need to put that much into it, and you can kind of make it look like normal because it has, it ends. You have a big hole, and let's say you're trying to stuff newspaper in there to fill the hole. You're going to notice a lot more. Like there's more structural things going on. So I would imagine you would probably see the biggest difference in the Churchill, but again, for the price of them, and you just got to know what you're getting. You can't go into this thinking it's going to be like the original, $11 Pan Caliente. But
the blending process is a lot different too, right? Because it's a lot of, I feel like, different ingredients, so to speak, or...
Yeah. You have to put the right kind of blend of the short fillers in there, or short and long if it's a mixed fill, because now you got to worry about burn. You got to see how it's going to burn. Long filler, especially when you know what seed variety it is, how that's going to burn. And sometimes you put different seed varietals. Sometimes there's a long leaf in a cigar that you don't even taste at all, and it's just there because this is what accentuates the burn. This is what helps it burn slowly or whatever. It won't burn too fast.
But adding short fills will it make it burn?
You gotta know, because I don't know the total process, but I would imagine that short fillers are gonna think of it like almost like pipe tobacco, how it kind of burns quicker. So you gotta make sure your binder and that kind of stuff and it's layered in there right. Because listen, you can't have something that tastes good but then just falls apart or burns in 2 seconds. Like, it still has to.
The construction's perfect on this.
Yeah,
so far.
It has to mostly. You can tell it's a little bit lighter.
It's very. Yeah, I was gonna say it's extremely lighter.
But you have to.
I didn't know if that was just the size of it, but
no. If I took like the selection #1 Robusto that he does and held one in each hand, you would
beefier, heavier.
You would just feel the difference. You would feel the difference. Well, like I said, you have to pack it a certain way in there. You have to wrap it a certain way in there because again, it's loose. It's more loose than long filler, so you can't have too much air going through there, or it's gonna.
Oh, the rolling process must be.
Yeah, it's probably a little more.
You got to be a little more, I guess, like a doctor with it.
And then, from the outside, they're using good wrapper on this too. So these are rolled. There is nothing that 90% of cigar smokers, if I gave them this, there's nothing here that I think they would assume that this is a cheaper whatever.
If you didn't tell them, like the burger analogy, if you didn't tell them, they wouldn't know.
Yeah,
they would like. I guess the biggest nerds would have to know, or people who are always testing cigars out. on a day-to-day basis like that. But
Hey, dude,
yeah.
I don't for something like this. I don't even know if I would know, to be honest.
Really?
I don't know if I could unless there was a drastic difference in the burn and construction. Then maybe it was something obvious. Maybe there is some small sign in here that some deep, super smart guy can. Oh, because it has this kind of burn, it's this thing. I honestly, my only guess would be because it's lighter,
Yeah.
because of the weight.
I'm assuming Lorenzo told you like off the bat, like this is what the blend is, or did he let you guys smoke it first and be like,
No, he gave us
surprise?
He gave us a little bit of a pitch on it.
Nice.
'Cause I mean, he brought the bundle in, so once he saw the bundle, we knew like it's something different. Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, in these tough times, people still need their little treat.
Yeah.
But if you got to reduce the price of your treat, you have someone in your corner now. You have HVC and J. Now, obviously, like I said, there's a ton of companies that do this, but I'm trying to think of a boutique company that size, like that boutique. Like, there's only a few companies that are that level of boutique. Dunbarton, Foundation, Warped, Viaje, look at the wall to even think about it. Caldwell, Espinoza to a degree, who are like that kind of, that level, and none of them really do something like this. Or maybe they do, I just haven't heard of it. He wasn't active in his selling of it. Like, it's not something he's like offering to like small brick and mortar shops. But it's something that, listen, for him, from a business standpoint, he's keeping his same level of quality, but he's like, I have this extra tobacco. I don't want it to change the reputation of my company to also I'm cheap, whatever. So it's not something he like actively advertised, but something that for like the big e-commerce guys, he talked to us and we were completely on board.
Maybe I'm not speaking for obviously the entire cigar community, but I do enjoy seeing, I guess, variety in pricing with certain companies, and I think I'm a very understanding person in terms of, like when the La Vereda came out, it was, I think at the time, one of his most expensive cigars, and like I think it's like I don't know, I'm always open to hearing, all right, why did you go that route?
Right.
But I don't own a cigar company. I don't own a company in general, so I'm not sure like if even if I owned like a little small movie theater, like dropping prices, like you would hope that it would get people in the seats, but
right.
But I mean, I think this is a smart marketing move for everything that you basically have said this episode, where it could open the door for cigar nerds who know HVC, and then people who are always looking to smoke something new.
Yeah. Yeah, I would actively ask people to check this out, even if it's just one time. Because listen, at the price, it's cheaper than it's cheaper than some of our current bundles.
Yeah.
It's really not that expensive.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to enjoy it. The Connecticut's, I think, like I said, are already on the site. But the Habano, you want something a little bit stronger. But again, it has that HVC clean finish to it, so it's nothing that's going to linger. Try a bundle of each. Let us know what you think. Compare it to other short filler cigars you had. I think this is probably one of the best ones I've ever tried. But yeah, I thought that was a fun little topic for today.
It was.
So, you got anything else?
No.
We have a lot of stuff coming up.
We do,
yeah,
and I don't want it. Still early to tease certain things, but yeah. I'm excited to see. I know it's stressing you out completely, but the private the private labels that we have coming up, I think, are really exciting. I think our listeners are going to enjoy them.
Yeah, the next one has literally been the bane of my existence for over a year. So
you guys need to support.
Fucking buy it.
Yeah, that's the marketing.
It's not super expensive. It's an amazing cigar that's been aging for over a year because everything else on this project fell apart consistently. So the cigars were sitting and aging for literally, they have been ready since July of last year. They just landed on Friday in our warehouse. So it's going to be big. It's going to be huge. All right. But until then, thank you all very much for watching. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. And as always, keep it lit.